Welcome to Keep It Weird, the podcast for all things strange and unusual, cursed and killer, artificial and intelligent, and sometimes we get a bit naughty.
Oh.
We are the luckiest girls in the universe because every week we have the pleasure of sitting down together and chatting about all things weird. This week is a wild ride, so buckle up. We have conspiracy theories, killer clowns, strange vacation destinations, and even a penis who has traveled the world.
I can't.
We'll be boarding the Titanic, hitting up Chicago while H.H. Holmes' murder castle is still warm, and following a dick from an island in France all the way to New Jersey. So make sure you've got proper protection, look out for carnies, and women and children first. It's time to load these lifeboats and row. My name is Ashley, and this is one of my best friends in the whole world, and my co-host, Lauren.
Oh, hi, weirdos. That was the nicest. Hello, weirdos.
My sick widow baby. My sick widow angel.
I'm a sick one. Which, as one of the parents at Wilder School today pointed out to me, it was like my voice doesn't necessarily sound that sick because it was like, don't you always sound like a smoker? I was like, yes.
Yes, I do.
But I'm a little congested, so you're going to hear a stuffy me. But you guys, you've heard us through everything. We have been like hawking loogies on this podcast, so I know you can handle it.
We've been a mess on this show, so you can handle a little sniffles. Plus, it's just that time of year, man. Like we're all going to be like sick eventually.
Stuffy nose for like 3 months straight. That's just how it goes, you know?
Yeah. I know that you had kind of a shitty Thanksgiving. Not shitty Thanksgiving, but it didn't go the way that you wanted it to.
Yes. That's what I keep trying to tell people. Like, we are alive. We are fine. Like, I got to sit in a hotel room in San Diego for a little bit, which had like a nice cozy bed and a lovely
hotels are great.
Shower. Yeah. So it was not the worst ever, but yeah, a little scary. Wilder got pneumonia, which was sad. His little lungs had some crackles in them, but he is okay now. He's been on antibiotics, so he's good. And I'm just stuffy, so all fine. And I did still get to eat. Alex brought me home leftovers because I sent him off to like all the activities because it was his family. And I was like, somebody should have fun. So I stayed in the hotel room with Wilder, but I got some good food.
Nice.
And you had a great one, relaxing, right?
Totally. I mean, we just went down and hung out with my parents, watched a documentary about a cult. You know, the things you do on Thanksgiving.
Twin Flames?
No, the cult of Mother God. One. Love has won.
Yep. Thank you. Last night in my like sick cocoon, I was watching that, and I just started that. But I watched
the last episode, which came out yesterday.
Yeah, I haven't watched. How many have there been?
There's only going to be 3. So they're
so I've watched 2.
Yeah, so the third and final episode. The third and final episode aired last night. So I'm probably going to watch that.
I haven't watched that yet.
When we're done recording.
Right after this. Yes, please.
Do you remember talking about that on the show?
Yes.
I couldn't find the episode. I was just telling Amy about this. I could not find the episode where we talked about Mother God. I remember talking about her because I remember talking about how she took so much colloidal silver she turned fucking blue.
Yeah.
I couldn't find the episode.
We definitely did. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
we absolutely did.
I need to go down that rabbit hole.
But you know, it's one of those things where it's like, was it a bonus episode? Was it a This Week in Weird on YouTube? Was it a main pod app? Like, fucking who knows? But if anyone's listening to this and you know, please let me know because I want to hear what we had to say about it back in the day.
It's the cults episode. Duh. Like, it's this one with Tyler. We'll find it.
That would make sense. Our listener, I'm not going to give your last name, Justine, because I don't know if you want me to say this, but
I know Justine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. So she messaged me on Facebook and was like, this is a friend of mine. This series is bonkers. I've heard stories about her old roommate before, but wow. And it's Escaping Twin Flames. Apparently her, one of Justine's friends, college roommate is the woman in the relationship, in the twin flame couple relationship who started the cult.
Oh,
And I was like,
no.
I can't believe in my lifetime I'm going to meet and talk to so many people who have had close calls or like been this
Yes.
close to cults because they're so
Wow, wow,
prevalent.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's wild. Okay, good
So
note,
crazy.
Justine. My
Yeah.
goody golly.
Yeah.
That's
She
wild.
said her friend said like she always thought this girl was fucking weird. But she definitely
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
imagine that she would start like
Not
an
like this.
enormous cult.
No.
Well, what are you gonna do?
Yikes, bikes.
You could start
Okay.
cults
Well, that
with
is
fucking
fascinating.
leggings, y'all.
You
Apparently.
can do
So
it. You can do it
you
too.
can do it too. You too
But
can start a cult
don't.
in your living room.
But listen, Ashley, like, obviously I was about to say, like, but please don't start a cult. But you and I have talked about before,
It would be so
like,
easy.
I would be down for, yeah, I would be down to start a cult, or like somebody could get me easily if I am in a depressive, like, mode phase. But like, start a cult that's like fun. And I'm in, like, what did we say? We were like living on a compound with a bunch of our friends
Totally. I
and
would absolutely do
family,
that.
and like
No
going
family.
to a, yeah, I don't have to have family. That is so true. Sorry. Love
Families for
you.
visiting. Families for visiting. I
Yeah,
love you
family can visit.
so much.
But friends and like having a
Hmm.
drum circle and like a community dinner every night, like I'm
Yep.
here for that. And you know,
Absolutely.
like the orgies are some people's cup of tea. I'm too tired, but like good for you. Like we could have them.
I don't think I could be talked into joining a cult simply because I'm too lazy. I would make
Yeah,
it to
there's a lot
one
of work
meeting.
involved.
Yeah, I'd make it
I
to
know.
one meeting and then I'd be like, oh,
Oh,
twice a
I have
week?
to be.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's not
Absolutely.
going to happen. I mean, Joe and I talk about it all the time where we're like,
Oh,
listen, if we really, like, if we wanted to, and we were the kind of people that could take advantage of people. That's my only issue is that I'm not the kind of person that could take
no,
advantage of
I
another
would
person
feel
because we
horrible.
could start a cult so fast and make
Hmm.
so much money. It is so easy.
The charm
Make a
that you and
website.
Joe have, like
The
you would be
end.
in. Yeah, you make a
Yeah.
website, use your charming personalities. I would join. I'd be in there.
Yeah. And I know all
You
the
have,
you weirdos would join too. I
they
have a
would.
built-in cult.
We have a
Just
built-in
ready.
cult of our
Ready to
weirdos
start.
ready to go. Yeah.
Anyways.
Anyway.
All right. Well, too bad I
Anywho,
can't.
I guess.
Too bad I'm not a shitty person. I wish I was
Oh,
shittier.
it's too bad
Every day I
you're
wish I was
great.
worse.
I know, because they get away with a lot of stuff, you know?
They do.
Damn it. That's
Okay.
why we're poor. Okay, anyway.
That's why we're poor.
That's it.
Lauren is going to start us off today. What do you have for us first, Lauren?
First, thank you, Ashley, for passing it
You're so
over.
welcome.
I'm going to start with where in the world is Keep It Weird going? Where in the world is Keep It Weird going? Where in the world is Keep It Weird going? Where in the world is Keep It Weird going? We're going to Connecticut, so not that far.
Once again, just a short drive.
Just a little, yep, just a little one. I know. It
Connecticut,
was so
though.
funny.
Joe's from Connecticut. I know
I
a thing
thought
about
about
Connecticut.
that. I know. I wonder if he knows anything about this.
I can't wait.
Waterbury, Connecticut, specifically.
Yeah, I've heard of
Joe.
Waterbury. Mm-hmm.
All right, here we are. Okay, we are headed to Waterbury, Connecticut for an abandoned theme park that exists. We like to talk about abandoned theme parks on this show, and abandoned
Oh.
amusement parks,
Yeah.
carnivals, and all those like urban explorers that go jump around in them. They look spooky as
Love
hell.
it.
So we're going to talk about one of those today. It is called Holy Land, USA.
Oh.
It's fascinating. Okay, so in 1953, John Baptist Greco purchased Pine Hill, a 17-acre plot of land in Waterbury, Connecticut, with plans to build a religious theme park.
Oh.
I didn't know those could exist.
Oh, well, I don't think they do.
Well, it's only this one. It no longer does. 3 years later, Greco erected a 32-foot tall crucifix on the site
Nice.
in front of a crowd of 1,000 onlookers. Everyone was so excited about this huge crucifix going up. And after that, Greco's organization that he had formed with some friends called the Campaigners for Christ. Catholic Campaigners for Christ.
Catholic Campaigners for Christ.
Campaigners for Christ. It's a tongue twister. They used the Bible as reference and created a miniature town that they named Bethlehem Village. And they were like, let's just run with this.
Okay.
And to construct the attraction, the group was relying on donations, salvaged cement, wire, plywood, statues, mannequins, anything they could find, and some real soil from Jerusalem, because they wanted to be as authentic as possible. And they put like old appliances, bathtubs, like anything they could find in junkyards, because they were like, some of these appeared in biblical scenes. And they just set up this little Bethlehem village. And this just kept building, expanding, going and going, and it eventually spiraled out to become Holy Land, USA. But first, on December 1st, 1958, Bethlehem Village, the precursor to all of this, had officially opened to the public. It hadn't been advertised a ton yet, but some, I feel like some people who knew about this Catholic group that John Baptist Greco had formed, and, some people from the church had come to visit it. And then John Greco got on the radio. He created travel brochures and put things in the newspaper, and it spread like wildfire. So then like thousands of people started to come when it really got going throughout the 60s and 70s, and interest was high. So the park just kept adding new attractions as they went along. Bethlehem Village then changed its name to Bible Park. And then eventually Greco created a model for Holy Land USA's giant Hollywood-style sign. And it looks like the Hollywood sign that we see up in the hills.
Nothing
here
says
in Los Angeles.
The Bible like the Hollywood sign.
That Hollywood sign. That's right. Like all of us saints, no sinners here.
City of Angels.
We are angels. So he builds this huge Hollywood-esque sign. Again, this is like when you can look at the photos online, it looks like the Hollywood sign. And that is where it got its name, because that's how he was trying it out. So it got its definitive name. And the sign is just quite fabulous, all lit up as they wanted it to be. Holy Land, USA. It peaked in the 60s and 70s when it drew in 40,000 visitors a year.
Damn.
Greco encouraged 50-cent donations for parking, but admission was always free of charge, and local churches hosted collections that made enough money to keep Holy Land running. So they were good on their donations. They were making it. Then, after a series of fires ravaged Holy Land, USA in 1974, the park was still open, but it did start to become a breeding ground for vandalism, as do most theme parks, carnivals, amusement parks, when
anywhere that doesn't have enough security.
Yes, not enough security. And anytime things are starting to fall apart a little bit, a fire. Now we have some burned buildings. We have some construction happening. Here's our opening to go in and vandalize because they're working on it. So people came in and things were kind of turning to ruin in this one section of the park. Exhibits were destroyed, and the library and gift shop were severely damaged, and this was just the start of their troubles. But they were still staying open and being hopeful. And then things started to get added on. In addition to the 32-foot tall neon cross that sat atop the hill above Holy Land. Neon. Huge lit up neon cross above that Hollywood-style sign. They were like, come one, come all.
We can be cool too.
We're trendy. Let's go. The park featured numerous other biblical attractions. Visitors could walk around the Garden of Eden, tour replicas of the catacombs measuring about 200 feet in length, view Christ on the cross, which I think could have been upsetting, to a
theme park.
And they would learn about the Holy Shroud of Turin. Turin? I don't know stuff. In a very special exhibit.
Okay.
So, this park had everything. I feel like, what is Bill Hader's character's
Stefan.
name?
This park
Stefan.
has everything.
This had everything.
Christ on a cross.
The catacombs. Garden of Eden.
A neon sign.
Jesus on the cross.
Yeah.
The Holy Shroud. Slay. Okay, so it had everything.
Yeah.
In 1984, Greco decided to temporarily close down the park in order to make improvements on these areas that desperately needed it, and also to expand even more.
Wow.
He didn't have enough going on yet. He hired an architect who drew up plans for a new and improved park. It was in the making, but sadly, Greco passed away in 1986
Oh, damn.
during this closure. And Holy Land USA has remained closed ever since, still to this day. It's just ruins of what once was. Now there's overgrown plants, burned buildings and signs, and horrible, bad-shaped structures. It is officially a creepy, abandoned theme park that urban explorers are having a field day
Yeah,
with.
I know that it's abandoned, and like all the pictures online, it looks like, aren't from its heyday. But this looks like a janky piece of work. It better be free to get in.
It's
God damn. Ooh,
right?
I mean, damn.
It feels very just pieced together.
Feels really hodgepodge here.
It does. And that it already had kind of an eerie look, in my opinion. So I'm glad you are seeing that too, because they were using, donated and salvaged items.
Yeah.
But then
Christians are thrifty.
They are. We love it. We're here for a thrift.
Hell yeah.
But it did
Love a
look
good
very
deal.
just like pieced together. And then on top of it, once it became abandoned and vandalism set in, it was just full on ruins, just dirty, overgrown, all of the things.
When you first mentioned it, I was picturing, did you watch Righteous Gemstones?
Yes, of course.
Okay, you know how they have like their roller coaster and their little like theme park within their
Yes, of
compound?
course.
That's
Yes,
what I
yes,
was
yes.
picturing. I was picturing like
No, they had
they have
style.
huts.
Yeah, this is different.
Yeah,
it is different.
A little
It's from the
different.
Righteous Gemstones, a little bit different. So Greco dies. He left control of Holy Land USA to a group of nuns.
Okay.
As you do, along with millions of dollars for repairs and expansion. So Homeboy was making some plans.
Damn.
And the estimated construction cost totaled about $13 million. So the nuns were like, okay, he left us a ton of money. We can do this. But we do need to hire someone to manage our finances and help us out because...
Yeah, because we're just nuns.
Yeah, we're nuns. We are women
Simple
of God,
nuns.
but we don't know what we're doing. So the person the nuns selected had previously helped them build a church. And they were like, we can trust you. Like, you're a financier.
Oh, no.
We can get in with you. But he turned out to be a crook. He suddenly disappeared and took all the money for the park with him. And it just makes me so sad because, listen, whatever. I have my issues with the Catholic Church because of the way I was raised. I've been burned before, but nuns, I just feel like they are so trusting of everybody, and like they wanted to make this man's dream come true of his theme park. They trusted somebody and they were like, we believe you're good because God believes you're good. And then
then he wasn't good.
They were swindled.
Good lesson for the nuns, though.
Good lesson. You cannot trust everybody, and humanity can't always have faith in them. You can't. So unfortunately, they were swindled. And then with a lack of funding, Holy Land just continued to rot and look the way that we see it today. In 1988, the Catholic Campaigners for Christ, John Greco's group, wanted to tear down the park's catacombs and the chapel attractions for safety reasons. They're like, this is just getting bad, but
too dangerous.
The group tried to request a bulldozer, and then a local petition came through with 1,000 signatures to stop the destruction. All of these Christians came forward and were like, you can't save Holy Land! And they had a whole movement towards it, even though they were like, we're just thinking of safety. So it got squashed. So they were just sitting there, like waiting for a sign from God, I guess. And then, unfortunately, the worst thing happened in 2010. A murder occurred in the Holy Land.
In the Holy Land?
In the Holy Land.
On consecrated ground?
It happened. 16-year-old Chloe Ottman, who grew up in Waterbury, Connecticut, and enjoyed exploring the area with her friends, as did a lot of people.
Yeah.
She went there on July 15th, 2010, meeting her friend Francisco Cruz Jr. at the base of Holy Land's crucifix. They met up. It was just supposed to be a couple of drinks, some, underage drinking together, having a laugh. Francisco, unfortunately, took things too far, as the male species tends to do, and
do occasionally.
He SA'd her and murdered her, leaving her body in one of the park's wooded areas, like just behind some of the attractions. Very sad. Ottman's parents filed a missing persons report after their daughter failed to return home, and Cruz confessed to the crime a few days later after denying he had any involvement or knew where she was. Once he admitted to it, all of this entered into the court system. He originally pled guilty, but then decided to change his mind and agreed to plead guilty if they dropped the rape charges. And he was not very happy with the offer, but Ottman's father did eventually agree because he just wanted to put this to rest and was like, whatever you want, you fucking piece of shit. So he agreed to it, and Cruz was sentenced to 55 years in prison. May he rot there even longer. So that happened there. I just wanted to do that little case. I thought that was so interesting. And it shook Waterbury, Connecticut, because it was a wholesome town with Holy Land, USA, the only thing to its name. And here they are dealing with this murder, this assault, this court case. It was like suddenly they were getting, more attention than they wanted. They couldn't believe anything like this happened. So citizens were like, please let this area just be in disrepair or tear it down. We need to do something else with it. And the nuns were also like, yep, we should sell it. I don't want this cursed land anymore either. This was their tipping point. So the nuns put it up for sale. It took a couple of years because everybody was like, absolutely not.
I don't want it.
It's cursed now. Yeah, this is terrible. It was already spooky. Now it's worse. But then finally, Waterbury Mayor Neil O'Leary and a local car dealer named Fred Blasius purchased Holy Land for $350,000 in 2013.
That's a steal.
These men formed a steal for this land.
That's how much houses cost in this area.
Yeah, truly. These men then formed Friends of Holy Land Waterbury, USA, and became their own little group and promised that the site would remain dedicated to Christianity, no matter what it turns into, because some changes are gonna have to happen with all of the ruins there. I thought it was fascinating. We'll see if it ever reopens, but Connecticut and the Holy Land.
I love it. I can't wait to ask Joe if he knows about it. Lauren, have you ever been to Holiday World?
Are you asking me that as a joke?
Yeah.
I was like, you know how upset it was.
You know how I feel about this question.
You know how I feel. Because then the follow-up was the craziest part, is that I was already upset I hadn't heard about it when you first mentioned it. But then talking to my sweet husband, Alex, who withheld the information, was like, you haven't heard of Holiday World?
You've never heard of Holiday World?
So he's rude. I did think of that, though, when I looked this up.
Me
I was
too.
like, okay, so if we can do a holiday theme park,
we can
of
do
course
a
we can do a religious
theme park.
Like, we can do whatever we want. Yeah.
It did kind of remind me of that, too. Like, for a second, I was like, I think it would be funny if there was just, like, a religion-themed theme park. It wasn't just, like, the story of Jesus. It was like, here's Buddha Bay. And, like, Buddha Bay is, like, the water park.
The water park.
Yeah.
Buddha Bay.
Buddha Bay is the water park. We got to think of some others. It could be, like, Satan's hell pit or something.
Yeah, you have to have the Satan worshippers.
Yeah, everyone has to be included.
Catholic cave, Catholic caverns. I don't know. No,
Catholic caverns. That's pretty good.
Nothing.
I
Catholic
mean,
caverns.
Yeah, there
could be where you have lunch. It doesn't have to be.
There could be like the long walk for the Mormons or something, and it's just like a walkway. I don't really know much about Mormons, so I only know the bad stuff about Mormons. So I don't think that's going to be included in
somebody
our
weigh
fantastic park. I have a good one. From primitive tools to lost tombs, our history is a mystery that should be enjoyed with champagne wishes and caviar dreams. It's ancient artifacts with Addie Rife.
I forgot that was the intro.
That's my favorite intro so far. Please know
you are so good at the
that
voice.
if you buy a segment on the show we really put some work into the intros. Like, some of our intros are just like, here's a cheer, and some of our
Here it
intros are
is.
just like, here's me whispering. But Curse Crooners and Spooky
Listen,
Songs, hello, there's
I was about to say,
song.
can we talk about our segment,
talk about our
segment purchasing
sponsored
tier? Because
segments?
we have
Damn.
slayed Cursed Crooners and lifestyles of the rich and fabulous, as in ancient artifacts. Be like, it's just so good.
Today's ancient
Ashley, it's so
artifact is actually coming from the 1800s, so it's not super ancient, but it's such an interesting artifact that we have to talk about it. So today I'm going to tell you about Napoleon Bonaparte's penis.
Great. I've been wondering where that was, you know? Like,
Napoleon's penis is in New Jersey. We'll get to that, though. Napoleon
Ooh,
is...
Why Jersey, of all places? Okay, continue.
Napoleon is a name on many people's minds lately. The Ridley Scott epic was released last week, just in time for you to watch it with your family on Thanksgiving. I
love it.
Did not go see it because it is 2 hours and 38 minutes long, and that's against my personal religion. But for anyone who did, I hope you enjoyed it, and also please write in and let me know if they discussed his penis.
Tell us.
Napoleon, for anyone who doesn't know the deets, Napoleon was one of the most successful generals of the French Revolutionary armies. He was the Emperor of France from 1804 to 1814. He's still regarded to this day as one of history's greatest military leaders. And if you didn't know that about him, you may have heard the phrase Napoleon complex, which I feel like a lot of women are familiar with. Because there are short kings, and we love them. Love a short king. I fucking love a short king. But there are also short men who are really aggressive and shitty, and those dudes are inflicted with something known as the Napoleon complex, essentially that they use their behavior to overcompensate for their height, which makes them feel insecure. In reality, though, Napoleon, so a lot of people don't know this, Napoleon was probably 5'6" or 5'7", which today isn't like the tallest person, but in the 1800s was completely average. So
I was like, that's very normal.
Totally normal. But just a little fun fact, why does everyone assume he was so short? Well, cartoonists at the time, I love that we had like political cartoonists all the way back to like it started then. I think it started in like the courts of like royalty,
because they were doing the caricatures.
Yeah, they would just like share drawings of like
oh my gosh,
king or the
political cartoons.
Yeah.
They've been around so long.
So
man, I love that.
Cartoonists at the time, most famously British cartoonist James Gilray, would draw caricatures of him depicting him as this tiny little guy. And the reason they did this was more so remember the Trump balloon that was flying around the UK? It was like Trump is a big crying baby in a diaper. So that's kind of what the original Napoleon cartoon depicted, was Napoleon as this little guy throwing a big old fit. Like he was like, meh,
having a tantrum.
But it stuck. And especially when Napoleon himself started throwing actual fits about the cartoons, it was like, okay, man, you dug your own grave on this one. You're always going to be depicted as a little guy.
You're fitting into what we were saying, babe.
So in 1815, during the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon got a little too big for his britches and ended up losing all of his troops, 40,000 men. He was defeated. He spent the rest of his life in exile on the island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic, and he died in 1821 at the age of 51. The doctor that performed his autopsy was a real wild fella, because for no reason that anyone can come up with at all, he removed Napoleon's penis.
Why though?
Just
Have to
'cause.
know.
Just wanted to.
Just
He
for
removed
fun.
Napoleon's penis and gave it to a priest named Vignali. And Vignali smuggled
That's what you do. That is.
smuggled the appendage to Corsica, where he apparently had some old beef and was like immediately killed. But he left the penis with his family, and they held on to it all the way until 1916. From there, it went to a British collector. And this wasn't too weird. Like, people had an obsession with Rasputin's penis as well after he died. But, like, as they should, because Rasputin supposedly had a 12-inch dick.
I would need to
Who?
know. I'm going to need to.
Well, you can see it. It's in a museum. It's
Rasputin?
pickled. His penis. Just his penis. It's pickled in a jar.
Perfect.
And it's on display at the St. Petersburg Museum of Erotica. But, however, even though the museum paid $8,000 for this pickled penis, most experts actually don't believe that it really belonged to Rasputin, claiming it's more than likely a severed cow or horse penis. But, like, if it is Rasputin's
then that'll be
penis,
big.
Congratulations.
Good for you, honey. Or we see you. Good for you.
So in 1924, an American buyer purchased Napoleon's penis, and it was put on display in New York City in 1927. And around this time, the French government was given the opportunity to buy Napoleon's penis back, but they were basically like, we're good.
We're okay.
We actually don't need it. So rather...
Just so funny.
We're fine. No, pass.
You have that.
Rather than becoming the property of the French government, the penis shifted hands several times before finally coming under ownership of urologist and Columbia University professor Dr. John K. Latimer, who bought it for $3,000 in 1977. Wow. Not bad. I wouldn't spend $3,000.
I sure would not spend $3,000 on that ween, but you know
what?
You got to steal after what people were like trying to do. So.
John Latimer is really interesting. He's an acclaimed urologist, but he's also a huge collector of historical relics. His whole career was wild. Like he actually treated top-ranking Nazis during the Nuremberg trials. And he was the first non-government medical specialist who was allowed to examine evidence related to the assassination of JFK.
Okay, dang.
And aside from Napoleon's penis, he also he died, R.I.P. He owned Abraham Lincoln's blood-stained collar, and he had just what is referred to as a treasure trove of strange items related to the most important historical events, mostly of the 20th century. Latimer, this is kind of weird. Latimer was super protective of his Napoleon penis. He never put it on display. Supposedly, he had it in a briefcase and kept it under his bed. Which...
Oh, I don't love
that.
Why did you do that? I have all the questions. Why?
I know he
under your bed in a briefcase,
like a little case. I don't know if it was like a briefcase. Like
okay, there's no right answer. There's no good answer, but like a special case almost makes it worse.
Almost makes it worse.
Yeah,
if you like got a case like made for this penis. Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
I need a special case for the penis.
For my pee-pee.
I can't.
I know he didn't display it and wouldn't show it to people because, according to a quote from his son, he believed that urology should be proper and decent and not a joke, which, like, totally. Penises aren't funny. Except when they are. Why are you hiding this pee-pee under a bushel? Show the world. After his death...
You are the light of the world. Yeah, you've got to show it.
After his death in 2007, his family still to this day owns the penis. And to this day, only about 10 people have seen it. It's never been photographed or filmed. But The story does not end here, however. In 2014, a Channel 4 documentary series called Dead Famous DNA got to examine the penis.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the penis was not properly stored in formaldehyde or anything, I guess, when it was originally removed. Like, I don't know
No.
how they, like, I don't know if he just put it in his pocket. I have no idea how it was stored. I don't really
Oh
want
my
to know.
gosh.
But
I can't even think about that. That's awful.
it caused the penis to basically be a shriveled up piece of nothing. Like if you saw it, you'd just be like, "What's that shriveled up little thing?" But university
Is that an old carrot?
University X-rays and examinations determined it's for sure a penis, and according to historical records that have been confirmed, it is the penis of Napoleon Bonaparte.
No!
Yeah.
It is?
It's his pee-pee.
It's a shriveled up old dick.
If you
Dick.
guys actually want to know more about Napoleon's penis journey around the world, there's a book about it. It's called Napoleon's Privates, 2,500 Years of History Unzipped by Tony Perrotet. Thank you so much, Tony.
Doing the Lord's work.
Doing the Lord's work. No information regarding whether the penis is still hidden under someone's bed or what the hell Latimer's family did with it after he died. So I'm trying to think of where I would put a penis if I had one. In my house.
I know. Would it be if I just had one chilling in my house? Where would I keep a penis in my house?
Where would I keep it?
Maybe I would have a special case. I feel like I'd put it in a jewelry box. I don't know.
A jewelry box would be a good idea. You know how
just to like check on every once in a while.
Some people keep like did you keep the umbilical cord when it fell off?
No, a lot of people do, but it was one of the nastiest things I've ever seen. And so we took a picture just in case we ever regretted it. There's a picture on Alex's phone of it in my palm.
And have you
just looking brown and nasty?
I've
never
been
looked
like,
at it once.
You know what I want to look at?
And then
the fucking umbilical cord. Yeah, throw it away.
Tossed it. Yeah,
throw it away.
It went to the dumpster.
But yeah, I guess wherever you keep an umbilical cord is where I would keep a shriveled up little penis. Mm-hmm. But I don't know where people keep their umbilical cords because I don't know. It
could be in like a little jewelry box. That's what
a jewelry box, like where you keep like my mom used to keep our baby teeth in her jewelry box.
I know, so we've talked about that. That's another
finding it and being like, ooh.
That's another reason I said it, because we have talked about keeping the baby teeth on the podcast before, and I'm like, I know people keep them in like little fancy boxes.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where you'd keep a penis, and then you just check on it every once in a while. Nope, but it's not for me.
No.
It's for another.
It's for someone else. And that was Ancient Artifacts with Addie Rife.
Addie Rife. I have an Ancient Artifacts segment coming up in a future episode, and so I need to get the voice down, and I hope I can do it to the service that Ashley has done it. My goodness, I'm gonna have to practice over the next week. Okay, well,
I can always sub in. You can tag me in.
I know, I'll be like, Ashley, introduce this. You may need to introduce this one as well, because I forgot, but I didn't forget it looks like a penis.
Hey, that's kind of the theme
phallic,
this week,
it fits.
so it's fine.
I know, it fits. Oh,
here we go.
Conspiracy
theory.
Conspiracy theories. Put your tinfoil hats on.
Get your tinfoil hats for this conspiracy. Yes, please.
We love a conspiracy theory on this episode, and Ashley is right. We have touched on it. She knows a little bit of what we've talked about. You all might as well. But ever heard of the Titanic? Okay. The
yes, of course. The Titanic.
Oh, Rose. Oh, God. I just can't.
Why do we only reference the movie?
I know. I'm like, this is an actual thing that happened, but my God, it's the movie that gets to me.
Movie.
But of course, this was a horrible
tragedy.
Thing.
Nothing to laugh about.
So, ever since that gorgeous luxury liner went down, conspiracy theories have come out year after year, getting more and more elaborate. Some make you say, maybe. Others make you laugh and you're like, you're absurd.
No.
And some just make you angry. It's everything. It is all ends of the spectrum. But they're all, for the most part, pretty fascinating. And I am always so intrigued, which is why we talk about conspiracy theories on our show. Like, the facts that people piece together to make into something. So that is what is happening today with a Titanic conspiracy theory that I have found. I think this is going to be a fun discussion. In regards to the Titanic, though, we have covered some conspiracies already. If listeners and watchers out there are thinking, like, you've already talked about this. We did talk about the elaborate theory of the Titanic being switched with its sister ship, the Olympic. And there was also the potential. Honestly,
I'm all in with that one.
I'm sold. Also, this is going to fall off, but
yeah, go ahead. Ding.
Also, potential insurance fraud scams, which that seems like this would be such an elaborate way to go about that, but not totally impossible. So we've discussed a little of that. Insurance fraud that went too far, being switched with the Olympic, what have you. But I came across a new conspiracy theory actually just a few months ago on TikTok where Ashley and I learned so very much.
Everything I know is from TikTok.
I learn it all. And I had it written down as a topic ever since. So here we go. The Titanic truthers, as they call themselves online, are passionate. And it's an interesting watch or listen regardless of what you believe. So go check it out. But the latest theory, and this also came back to the surface after the submarine that sank with all the rich people on it. Then everybody was like, eat the rich. Here's more rich people Titanic things. John Pierpont Morgan, or JP Morgan, as you may know him. And Ashley and I pretty much only know of JP Morgan's existence because of Sonia Morgan. I'm just kidding. We know things.
But I've heard the name.
Sonia Morgan.
Sonia Morgan is a housewife on The Real Housewives of New York City. She's completely unhinged. I have seen her breasts in person.
Ashley saw them.
Because she showed the entire audience within 30 seconds
she chose to show
coming on the stage. She actually married JP Morgan's son, correct?
Yes. Yeah, probably was son or son of son.
Or, maybe grandson. Either way, he was still a lot older than her when they got married. He was a descendant of J.P. Morgan. Go on.
We love you, Sonia.
Love you, Sonia.
J.P. Morgan did indeed have a connection to the Titanic. His International Mercantile Marine Company owned the White Star Line, which built and operated the Titanic and a few other ships that we've discussed. And Morgan witnessed the Titanic's launching in Belfast on May 31st, 1911. He was there for a lot of it. He was in on those initial discussions. Like, he was very involved. Not only did he own the ship, but he was very involved. They had a special suite for him that had like 1 million bathtubs, a sauna. Like, it was the fanciest because they were like, JP Morgan, like, you do whatever you want on our ship. So he was involved. The conspiracies say JP Morgan was supposed to be on the Titanic's first voyage, that first trip, but at the very last minute canceled right before, it was April 9th, right before it sailed on April 10th,
oh, really?
1912. He canceled his departure from Southampton, England on the Titanic. And then the conspiracy goes that Morgan did this on purpose because he somehow, with his connections, had the ship sunk because he wanted to get rid of his enemies and fellow millionaires, Jacob Astor, Isidor Straus, and Benjamin Guggenheim. These men were millionaires and supposedly JP Morgan's biggest rivals.
Okay.
And JP had some connections. So, like, could it have happened? I don't know. It's a lot to kill, like, upwards of 1,500 passengers on the Titanic.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Okay. Go
Listen,
on.
Here's how the theory goes. So it's again, like,
we
can say what we want at the end.
I'm open. My heart is open. My mind is open. I'm ready.
All right. Jacob Astor, who was at the time the richest man in America and owned a lot of hotels, condos, housing going up in, like, some of the wealthier cities. He was the richest man in America. And this was a title that JP Morgan had always wanted. So he is like enemy number one.
Right.
And then on top of it, the others come into play because they're also very wealthy. They're, putting his level at stake. But it is said that these three millionaires, also opposed the Federal Reserve being established, which would be like the first central bank in the US being formed, because they did not want, and a lot of America did not want, to be fair, a central bank to exist, because it felt like we were just following what England was doing. And it's like, didn't we already get away from these guys?
We came all the way over here to get away from
We did this.
Yeah.
We don't have the royal family. I don't know why the glasses had to come into play, but they did. They didn't want the central bank. So it was opposed by other people, but apparently, and this is very hard to prove because, again, like, they were on the Titanic, and I'm about to talk about their fate, but we could not get all the history of this. Did they actually oppose this so seriously? This is all hearsay, but apparently these three were rivals. They opposed the Federal Reserve, which JP Morgan so badly wanted to establish and was fighting hard for. This was his main thing. He's like, I have a little bit of a platform. I'm rich. I want the Federal Reserve. Congress has to listen to me. So these are his rivals. All three men passed away on the Titanic. They were all with their wives, except for Guggenheim, which I should have done more research on this. I don't even know if Guggenheim was with anybody, but Guggenheim was alone.
Regardless.
The other two died with their wives. Very romantic. But they went out. They didn't try to get on lifeboats, is what is said. But again, this plays into the theory of, or were they not allowed on lifeboats? Because the wealthy, it was women and children first, of course.
Yeah.
But then the wealthy, it was like, you can do whatever you want. Like, slip some money in my pocket. I don't care. But they did not make it on, quote unquote. So that is a sus thing. But all three of them passed away. And then JP Morgan, who had canceled his trip just a day before, was good to go and did continue to urge Congress to bring in the Federal Reserve, and won and did bring in the Federal Reserve. Obviously, the Federal Reserve Act was established by Congress in 1913, the year after the Titanic sank, because that was in April 1912. So that's a little sus. And also, what's his toes? JP Morgan canceled his trip the day before the Titanic took off, but Jacob Astor, the main enemy, richest man in the world, bought his ticket the day before, so last minute, and nobody really knows why he hopped on there last minute. So that's interesting. It was like, why the trade-off? Who convinced you of what? So there's some things going on there. Then how did he do it?
Yeah,
is the
how?
biggest question. And that is where the theory gets muddy. So
well,
this
here's
is why
the
we
thing.
put out all the facts.
He was so rich, he could afford
so very rich
to make his own icebergs.
He totally.
I have seen
take my ice
sculptures on so many episodes of Real Housewives. Okay, I know they have money for ice.
She ain't wrong. There's some money for ice.
They've got ice money.
I believe they had that ice money, what Ashley is saying, but the theories are, again, it's muddy, so like, you make your own decision. I'm just telling you. The ship had the wrong signal flares, very intentionally, to send up for an emergency. The captain of the ship was in on it because we all know the stories. The lookouts didn't have their binoculars. He ignored orders to slow down, all of those things. Yeah. And everyone, not everyone, but some witness testimonies after the Titanic sank and people were trying to investigate this, it was like, the captain was weirdly nonchalant. Like, everybody says he was so calm. He was so strange about slowing down. He was so strange about helping the lookouts. He was strange about a lot of things. And people believe that the captain was in cahoots with some wealthy players that were involved in White Star Line.
Did the captain survive?
JP Morgan. No, he went down with the ship like a gentleman.
Oh,
because
he chose to die.
As the movie taught us, he was like, I will go down with my ship. But also, that was not just the movie. That turned out to be true, where everyone said, like, he could have easily gotten on a lifeboat. He was offered one very early on, but was like, I will go down with my ship. So, tried and true. Good captain. But they think, even so, as like much of a man of the sea as he was, that he could have still been swayed to do something in some way. Because I don't think he realized how bad it was going to go. It was like, I want you to like hurt a couple people, but maybe not kill everybody. And clearly everything went
Well,
wrong.
and there's no proof that someone wasn't murdered on the Titanic before the ship went down. Like, how would you prove that someone had
1,000%.
been like shot in their living quarters or stabbed or something?
It could have been murder prior, yes. But that is so true. It's like maybe there was supposed to be like more of a shootout on board. And it's like, well, that didn't happen. But guess what? You got your wish anyway. So there's just some fishy things with like the captain being in cahoots with JP Morgan and like some of the fishy things that he was doing. And like all like the guys getting on later than they were supposed to, JP Morgan canceling last minute because he said, I have to stay abroad. My art dealer is saying like there's an issue with US Customs and he can't ship all of my pieces, so I have to stay here and fix that.
Okay.
That totally could have been true, but a little like, I don't know, it's a little sus. I can't decide how I feel. And regardless of what happened, we can all make our own minds up. It could be an elaborate murder plot, or simply, as we all mostly believe through history, a horrible tragic accident. But whatever the case, JP Morgan was a lucky son of a gun because he was alive, did not go on this trip where he easily could have died. And he became the wealthiest man in the US. And from all of his urging and encouraging Congress, they did finally pass the Federal Reserve Act in 1913, the year after the old Titanic sank, and basically he got everything he ever wanted. Wow. So we can't help but be a little suspicious. I get why the questions are being asked.
Here's the thing. It seems more to me that he made a deal with the devil. Or maybe his art dealer gave him a lamp with a genie inside. And his wish was, I wish to be the most wealthy man in the United States of America. Mm-hmm. No problem.
And the genie said,
it's a monkey's paw.
Can't go on this ride.
It's a monkey's paw. Because you don't know how you're going to become the richest man in America.
No. But wish granted.
Wish granted.
And then it's like, can't go on this trip
because my genie, I can't leave my genie. And
this genie over here told
me he gets seasick and he can't get on a boat.
That's all I'm saying.
I figured this one out. Don't worry, guys.
The truth is out there.
I got this one. You're welcome.
Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. Okay, so we are running out of time, but I am going to...
I know, my God.
I'm going to do my last segment. It's a short story. This segment is called... Creepy Clown Watch.
Yikes.
It's a new segment. This one sucks. So...
Is it sucks? Is it one that we needed? Oh, I'm nervous.
No.
Okay, it's fine. No,
it's not.
But
you know what? It's not the segment we wanted, but it's the segment we need right now. Chicago, 1908.
Let's do it. Chicago.
The city's still pulling itself together after the World's Fair and the discovery of H.H. Holmes' murder castle and all the horrific things that he was doing there. But a woman named Frances Thompson was found strangled to death and robbed in her home on the 1200 block of South Michigan, which for anyone who is familiar with Chicago today, that would be over by Field Museum, the Aquarium, Soldier Field, etc. Mm-hmm. So that's where she lived. Back then, before, the high rises, this was known as Automobile Row because of the amount of horseless carriages that would line the streets, which is cute.
Mm-hmm. Horseless carriages.
A man named Lumen Man was tried for her murder, but he was acquitted for insufficient evidence. Interestingly enough, the only newspaper that I found on Lumen Man was right out of the Champaign-Urbana area, the Urbana Daily Courier, on October 13th, 1908, with a tiny little article claiming rich man's son accused. It read that Lumen Man, the son of Orville C. Mann, a prominent and wealthy citizen of Oak Park, Illinois, was brought to Chicago Saturday night and locked up on the charge of being the murderer of Miss Fanny Thompson, who was found strangled and bound hand and foot with a clothesline in a rooming house at 1242 Michigan Avenue on July 1st. Just FYI, that building is now a Jimmy John's, a Bank of America, and a Pita Haven. So,
Oh my gosh. How the times have
the
changed.
turntables. Anyways, they didn't have any evidence to convict Mr. Mann. I don't even know why they thought he did it. There's really there's nothing on this. Like, it was a little thing that happened. Orville Seaman, though, his wealthy father, did receive an anonymous note during the trial telling him that he could solve the murder himself if he went to Riverview, the North Side amusement park, and found a clown with a wooden leg.
Oh,
now,
terrible.
No one knows if Orville followed up on this clue at the time or if anything ever came of it, but 4 years later, a clown with a wooden leg definitely committed a murder. In the early 1900s, a man named Charles Newton Kramer and his wife Mary, they were entertainers who traveled with the circus. Mary was dubbed the Queen of Burlesque, and she was also a lion tamer, which is fucking badass.
What a bad bitch. You can be sexy and burlesque and tame a lion. Like, are you kidding me? Crush.
Charles filled various roles at the traveling shows, but the most popular one was definitely his alter ego of Conway the Clown.
Hate it already.
In 1912, an heiress named Sophia Singer and her fiance, Will Worthen, moved to Chicago and immediately met up with the Kramers, primarily Mary Kramer, as she and Sophia were good friends. They had met several years earlier. They were both living in the same boarding house, and they continued to write each other for years after that. And Sophia wrote to Mary saying she wanted to elope with Will. And Mary was like, come stay with us in Chicago. Like, just come stay with us. And then you can go elope and whatever. Sophia was like, hell yeah. She planned on getting a hotel. But the Kramers had another idea. What if we all rented an apartment together? Wouldn't that be so fun?
The best idea I've ever
Oh my God,
heard.
It would be like Friends.
Everybody.
That's what they said to each other. It would be just like Friends. This was 1908. They did not say
Monica,
that.
Let's go. Yep, of course.
It wasn't fun. According to Will Worthen, who was actually not in Chicago, he was doing business in Muncie, Indiana. He claims that he and Sophia paid for the room, the food, basically all the expenses. Apparently, Charles Kramer, Conway the Clown, had come from a prominent family and was left with a sizable estate when his parents died. So they assumed
that didn't put in his money.
Well, that's the thing. They assumed that he was wealthy. That he had money, and maybe he did, but he was not willing to spend it if he did. Like, he and his wife lived on handouts. They would swindle people. They swindled their own friends, just like a fucking carny. So
fucking carny.
Just kidding. I mean, I have almost no opinion on carnies.
Same, actually.
Yeah, positive or negative. I have nothing to say about them. But not even a month into this fun little roomy sitch in Chicago, Will Worthen called and was like, this is not working out. We need to both return home to Baltimore and just like get married and do the traditional wedding. He wasn't trying to be an ass. He was just like, hey, this isn't what we thought. It's not working out. I'm tired of paying for your life well. But that pissed the Kramers off. They wouldn't talk to them. Like, despite living with them, they just like made the whole environment really hostile, and the couple was ready to just like get the fuck out of that apartment and Chicago.
Let me be free. This is toxic.
So on October 28th, 1912, Will Worthen headed downtown to do his usual like Saturday. I actually don't know what day of the week it was, but it seemed like a Saturday. He headed downtown to do some gambling. He liked to bet on the horses during the day, and then he would like bet people in games of pool at night, and then he would come home nice and sauced up for his fiance. It's really
sauced up and
generous.
Ready.
And that was exactly what he did that day. But when he returned to the apartment that night, the apartment was locked and the keyhole was stuffed with something. So he was yelling and drunk and pounding on the door to have someone let him in, but no one came to the door, and he thought that was really weird. The noise got the attention of the landlady, and working together, they cleared the keyhole. They got into the apartment. And as he went through the apartment looking for his, roommates and his fiance, no one was there. And he ended up breaking into the Kramer's room because he was like, my fiance should be here. He
Right.
found her legs sticking out from under the bed. And when he
Oh,
pulled her body into view, her face was covered with a pillow. Her hands were tied with a clothesline, and she had clearly been beaten and strangled. It was discovered later
oh,
that Charles Kramer's own handkerchief was shoved so far down her throat they needed a pair of pliers to get it out.
yikes. Wow. That's so horrible.
Over $3,000 worth of her jewelry and $1,000 cash was missing, and the search for the Kramers took over headlines all over the country. The police were pretty confident that they'd, one, were looking for the right people, and two, that they would
Mhm.
find them, seeing as he was a one-legged clown. And he was right.
Yep. Yep.
They
We're gonna find
were
you.
found pretty much right away, and they were arrested. They were in Lima,
Yep.
Ohio, where Charles was actually born 26 years
Lima.
earlier. They
Mm.
both confessed immediately to the murder, but Charles' story was a little strange. According to him, his wife had absolutely nothing to do with the murder, even though she had already confessed. He didn't know that she had at the
That
time.
she had.
But
Awkward.
he said that the motive was not her wealth, but that it was self-defense.
What?
According to him, while Will was out gambling, Sophia barged into their room and started to argue with them. And Mary Kramer, Charles's wife, supposedly left the room at that time, and then Sophia attacked Charles with a doorknob that had a handkerchief and shoelaces tied to it. That's what he said. He claims he fought the doorknob away from her and knocked her unconscious before tying her up and running into the kitchen to tell his wife that they had to leave town right away. And in court during his testimony, he said, I killed her in self-defense. I did only what 9 out of 10 other men would have done in a similar circumstance.
That doesn't make me feel any better. That's worse.
No, and also she was strangled.
None of your story. Yeah, she was strangled and tied up, and nothing about what you're saying is self-defense, actually. But also, never use the argument, I would have done what 9 out of 10 other men would have done.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I bet you did.
And I hope that they all see the inside of a jail cell, too.
But speaking of shit he said at the trial, this guy was a real clown. A real one. Apparently,
real one.
Throughout the whole ordeal, Charles just acted really nonchalant and indifferent. And he was even joking with the police. Like at one point, he stopped his own interrogation to say to the captain, "Say, Captain, do you know that in this case you can't hang a man with a wooden leg?" And the captain, not in the mood for jokes, was like, there's no law against hanging a man with a wooden leg. And Kramer replied, sure there is, but you have to use a rope.
That is so funny.
You can't hang a man with a wooden leg. Yeah, we get it. During the trial,
thank you for that.
Both of the Kramers actually recanted their confessions. They actually said they were bullied into confessing by the police, but that accusation didn't work. The pair were convicted of murder, both of them. Charles was sentenced to life at the Joliet, Illinois Correctional Center, and Mary was sentenced to 14 years in prison, of which she would only actually serve 1 year.
1.
But
okay.
Listen to this. As Charles was being led away from the courtroom, he was shouting that he would get out of this, but everyone was like, yeah, bye forever, dude. I feel like we've seen that before. Like, you won't keep me locked up. Well, that was 1913. And in 1925, he escaped from jail. When he fled the prison farm he was working on, still limping around on his self-carved wooden leg. And he was never found.
That's it?
He was never found.
He was just
The very last mention of him in any newspaper that anyone can find is from 1932, when it was reported that his mother was trying to get a judge to declare him dead so she could collect on his life insurance.
Sure.
No one has ever
Of course.
successfully connected Charles Kramer to the original murder in 1908 of Franny Thompson, so that murder remains unsolved to this day. But could the anonymous letter have been leading Orville Mann in the right direction after all? The
All
world
along.
will never know. And what happened to
I love and
Charles
hate
Kramer?
stories like this because
killer clown
it's-
just got away.
On the loose. On the loose.
He's dead.
I'm knocking things over
Luckily,
because I'm so passionate.
He's far dead by now. This was a long time ago.
Sure.
But
it's like, if we're doing the math, like, he's dead. But it's like, never found again, just got out of prison.
Escaped.
I can't.
Yep.
That's so creepy,
that
and I hate
is
him.
Creepy Clown Watch.
Creepy Clown Watch. As you said, the segment, I'm like, I don't want this, but we might have needed it because that story is fascinating.
I only want to create a segment if I know that there can be like repeats.
There's more.
Yeah, there can be more stories. And I know there's more killer clown stories out there aside from the obvious one. Gacy, who was also in Chicago.
I was going to say, when you said, like, clown, Chicago, I was like, is she doing John Wayne Gacy? Like, does this
Different
girl...
killer clown in Chicago.
It's so real. The Midwest and their killer clowns. Yeah. I am sorry, everyone, for our area of the country.
But that is all the time we have this week for Keep It Weird. Thank you so much for joining us. As usual, we love you very much. We hope that you are having a great December. It's December 1st, so if you're not having a great December, just wait.
Incorrect. Can't be.
Not only that, we have 3 episodes left in this season, so if there's anything you want us to cover before we get to the end of the season, you know where to find us. keepitweirdpodcast@gmail.com, or you can follow us on social media at Keep It Weirdcast. We're on Instagram and Twitter. I haven't tweeted in a long time.
That's unlike you, so I need you to get back on it. You are our only connection to Twitter. X.
Oops, sorry. It's not Twitter anymore. You don't tweet. You X. Also, please consider donating to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/keepitweirdpodcast. It's how we produce this show. And you also get bonus episodes. And you don't get a newsletter anymore. Sorry, but one of the bonus episodes is a newsletter. And actually, Amy and I...
The Weird Report.
The Weird Report. Amy and I came up with a very fun trivia game that we are going to be playing either on our bonus episode in December or on a main pod app. I haven't decided yet. So...
Okay, if it's on your bonus episode, can I at least be there to listen in? I was like, I love trivia.
I need you both. I need you and Amy both. So it's either going to be a main pod app or a bonus episode. It is a lot of fun. If you want a sneak peek, basically. Nope, I'm not going to tell you. It's a surprise. Okay, so end our episode, as we did last time, Lauren and I are actually both going to try to guess the card. If you are watching this episode, you can see what card we are trying to guess before we even guess it. If you are listening in this episode, think to yourself. See if you can guess it. Once again, the shapes are squares, squiggly lines, stars, circle, and a plus sign. Are you ready? I'm going to show the card. Look away.
Okay, shutting my eyes.
Okay, I showed it. And it's time to relax. Are you getting anything?
I'm not this time. I feel like last time I saw the window, so I thought plus sign.
Okay.
Currently, I'm seeing a slightly rounded square. So I keep wanting to say square, but it's rounded on the corners.
I keep saying a crucifix.
Enough to where I'm like, okay, well, then you should say plus.
That's what I'm thinking, but it was a plus sign last time. Is that cursing us.
So, but that can still happen.
It's true.
See, that's where people get too deep into probability and then they're like, no. But you should say plus sign. I'm seeing rounded squares, so I'm like, I want to say square, but I don't know.
Okay, let's check. Square or plus sign? Oh! Well, listen.
Not even
close. It's a star for anyone who's listening and wants to know. It's a star. We are
It's a star. We
not psychic once
failed.
again. But
the most
listen.
miserably we've ever failed.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. That was actually
I feel like usually
so
there's
far
like
from-
a hint of hope, and then it's like, oh
it's
no,
like,
this
oh,
was
I
like
was
just
thinking
wrong.
maybe because no. Okay, well, listen, maybe next time.
Nope, like not. I would not have said star in a million
Nope.
years. So
Nope, didn't even think of it as a shape.
Forgot it existed.
Forgot it existed. Anyways, we love you
failed, but
so
next
much.
episode
And next
we'll do the other
episode,
one.
we'll
Love
do
you.
something else. We love you so much. Keep it weird.